So I'm part of a working group at the University of Notre Dame that's developed a framework and a tool, an online tool that it's intended to foster conversation and advocacy around just wages. And we've come up with what we consider to be a just wage based on Catholic social teaching, which is very supportive of workers' rights. We've identified 7 criterion that we believe are necessary to be able to say a wage is just. And underneath each of those criterion, there are several indicators, and I can't go through all of them, but there's several indicators that define the criterion, and they encompass both conditions that enable a just wage and are enabled by a just wage. So our tool is intended to address the entire wage spectrum. So we look at excess pay, we look at professionals' pay, but there's a concept in Catholic social teaching called the preferential option for the poor. And it basically just means that when we assess systems and try to affect change, we prioritize poor people. So our tool prioritizes just wages for the poor, and we think about what should come out of it. So nobody thinks of overlaps between radical Black feminism and Catholicism. But this is a quote from the Combahee River Collective Statement. It's considered a foundational document in radical Black feminism. Combahee River, by the way, is the site where Harriet Tubman led a Union army that freed 750 slaves. So it's clear that radical Black feminists, the women who framed this statement, and Catholics, or at least those who embrace Catholic social teaching, which is not all Catholics, believe that economically marginalized people should be prioritized. We as women could not attain gender equality unless economically marginalized women attain gender inequality. So, as you all probably know, Equal Pay Day was the other day. And I'm always a little salty on Equal Pay Day because I think it leaves a lot of people out. So we've gotten better at highlighting wage gaps, the differentials for, women of color, for Black women, Latinx women. We don't talk about men, which is something, that's what I usually think about when I'm kind of upset about that, because Black men's wage gap, Latinx men's wage gap, they're just as large as the wage gap for white women. But thinking about the preferential option as Equal Pay Day came up this year, got me also thinking about whether we prioritize the poor enough in equal pay conversations. So I started looking at that, and I've always admired Catalyst, for instance. They do a lot of good work around gender inequality in the workplace. When I looked at their website, Search for Poverty, and I saw very little about poverty, and there was nothing about poverty in the context of equal pay. There was a toolkit for attaining equal pay in finance. And Catalyst board includes a number of people who are executives at companies that have lots of low-wage workers, often predominantly in female jobs. Likewise, leanin.org has a page on equal pay that does not mention poverty and actually highlights that college-educated women face a bigger gap, which to me kind of implicitly sidelines, draws attention away from lower-paid women, even though whatever level of wage gap they have is likely to impact them more than higher paid women's wage gap. So Maureen earlier mentioned that, the fight for 15 and how $15 is still not enough. And she talked about the living wage. But I want to challenge us in thinking about the living wage, because the living wage only accounts for the absolute basics. Oh my God. So emergencies, major health costs, so on and so forth, are not included. So it's like we don't believe that people who are poor are deserving of the same level of comfort and security that we have. So thinking about what it means to prioritize the poor means that we look at the living wage and say, this is not enough. We want gender equality, and this is not going to get us there. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't advocate for higher paid women. Obviously we should, but if we have limited advocacy resources and we have to prioritize someone, why put the most vulnerable people on the back burner? There are many more low-paid women than there are high-paid women. So if we're gonna say that we're doing feminist equal pay work, we prioritize poor people. So just some thoughts.